Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about a concept that kind of came up rather randomly for my writing. It's the concept of happy accidents. I take the word from David Lynch. I don't know if he really coined the phrase. It's happy accidents, but he definitely apparently uses it a lot on set. And the notion is that something happens that you didn't plan that makes things so much better. And if you go with it will improve things. The best example that I can think of from a David Lynch perspective is when he was shooting Twin Peaks. He was shooting the pilot episode. This is where they find Laura Palmer's dead, and I believe Agent Cooper shows up, and we're basically just kind of introduced to the whole world of Twin Peaks. And Sarah Palmer, Laura Palmer's mother, I think she's lying on her couch in the living room, and she has this weird vision. I don't remember all the details, but she has this weird vision, almost like a nightmare. And she sits up in the bed and she starts to scream. Well, unknown to everybody at the time, I think Frank Silva, I believe is his name, who was a set decorator, set dresser. He's not an actor. His face was caught in the reflection of the mirror. You don't see it very strongly. They're not really focused. The mirror just happens to be over the couch where Sarah Palmer is lying there. But because of where he was standing, he was caught in the reflection. And I don't remember at what point they realized that he was in a reflection, whether it was while they were shooting or later on in the editing bay. I mean, you gotta remember this was done in the early '90s. There was no like digital cameras back then. There wasn't any of that stuff. Um, you would have shot the film, sent it off to be processed, and then the next day you would get to look at what they called the dailies, or maybe a day after, or something else like that. And then that would have been when you would see it. Today, when they film movies, everything's done digitally, so you can film it, go back, look at it, and see exactly what it looks like, and then go, fix it or do something else like that. And so whenever it was that David Lynch saw it, whether it was like a day or two later, or maybe much later when he was doing the editing, when he realized that this guy's image is in the mirror, he liked it and he decided to keep it. And it was a happy accident. It's one of those things that it wasn't really supposed to be there, but he ran with it, and that became Bob. I mean, if you've watched Twin Peaks, that character, that actor played the character of Bob, which is this evil extra dimensional entity that feeds off of pain and suffering, and it tries and inflicts as much horror into the world just to kind of sate its own appetite. And that actor got to play Bob, and to the point of, like, if you watch the Twin Peaks Return, which came out a few years ago, still one of my favorite TV shows ever. They just use his image because he died, I think, I think like 92, 93. He died a few years after the show stopped filming. He was in Firewalk with Me. He was around for that, and that's where we kind of get to see a little bit more of Bob. But he was in that. But this notion of happy accidents, to me, it reinforces the reason why I like writing without a outline. Why I like just freewheeling, pantsing, discovery writing, writing into the dark, whatever it is you like, whatever the term is that you like to coin it. Because you open yourself up to these happy accidents. See, if you go in with a very well thought out, very well defined outline, you know exactly what's going to happen in chapter 17 before you've even written a single word, then you you have a hard choice to make when you have these happy little accidents. When you're writing and you're kind of in the flow and the words are coming out, and before you know it, your character is saying something or doing something that you didn't really plan on. Well, now you have a hard choice. Do you go with that, or do you erase that to stick with the outline that you wrote? Now, with filmmakers like David Lynch, that's one of their problems, is you have to go in there with the script, and because it's such a big production, there's so many people involved, and so much money on the line and so much work involved, that it's really hard to just sort of say, screw it, let's just go with it. Little things like catching a guy's face in the mirror, that's one thing. Um, Maybe someone says a line a little differently or whatever, but it's really hard to just sort of turn on a dime and say, hey, in this scene, when you said that, that made me think of this. I want to go with that. Just rewrite the script. That doesn't happen in filmmaking. It can't. The closest I think that David Lynch has ever gotten to do that was when he did Inland Empire, but that was pretty much 100% independent. I think he just did it all on his own, and he also did it really low budget. He intended to use like a very more low budget cameras and that sort of thing. But that was one where he would wake up in the morning, basically write the script of what they're going to do for that day, hand it out to whoever needed it, and then they just started, filming later on that day. So that was about as close as you can get to writing, where you just kind of sit down, start typing, freewheeling, and see what happens. Because as a writer, it's just me at a keyboard, and it's really the worst thing that might come out of following a happy accident that maybe isn't so happy is I wasted some time. That's really about it. I nobody else gets hurt, and the end reader, you who are reading the stuff, you don't even know that I deleted maybe 3 chapters because I just decided I didn't like how it went. You also don't know when someone goes completely off of the outline too, and that kind of came up with me with some of my writing too. I'm working on a book that I'm hoping will be finished in a few weeks. I've been working on it since June, I think, off and on since April. Since all this sort of coronavirus started, I didn't really want to work on my old book, and so I decided to work on this other book. The theory was it was going to be light and easy, and of course it wasn't. All that stuff comes out no matter what. But I'm 50,000 words into the book. I can see the ending, and now I'm discovering, oh, this is what the book is about. And so now I have to go back and I have to make changes and add things and put stuff in, because now I'm starting to see this happy accident that came up as I was writing, and I'm able to kind of go with it. And I'm a big proponent of the happy accidents. I'm a big proponent of go with your instinct. At some deeper psychological level, a deeper unconscious level, you know what makes a good story. You know where the story is going to go. If you try and force it, it usually doesn't happen. If you try and push it, it usually isn't very good. If you try and wedge it into some preconceived outline format that you learned about online, or you read about in a book or something else like that, you're kind of really limiting yourself. You're not allowing for these happy accidents. And so all I can say is, like, especially if you're a plotter, if you like having a fully developed plotting outline, maybe start with like a short story, and just sit down and uh, um, really just get an opening without really even thinking about where this is going. Is just think of a character in a place or a character in a setting with a problem. That's the 3 ingredients to an opening, and really to any story. Just invent a character, maybe just invent it on the fly. Invent a setting, same thing. Where would this character be? Put him in that situation. And then once you got that in mind, once you have an idea of what the character is like and what the setting is like, a problem will probably just pop up by itself. Or you can kind of stick one of those in there, like if you want to write a science fiction short story. Well, then have the problem be like, they're going to get abducted by aliens. Again? Again, that one word just sort of turns everything around. They're not getting just abducted by aliens. They're getting abducted by aliens again. Does that surprise the character? Why would they say that? Why would they think that? Boom, off you go. You got stuff to write. And who knows where that might lead. And that could, I can already think of like 5 or 6 different directions for this to go into. And so, once you kind of enjoy the process, enjoy the intuition and just following it where it goes, you find a lot of these happy accidents. And I don't know, I can't really say 100% of the time it probably makes the story better. But I'll be willing to bet it makes the writing more interesting. And you hear a lot of writers talk about the muddy middle. No, I don't know where this is story. I'm just kind of filling time in the middle here. If you don't really know where the story's going, then that muddy middle isn't so muddy anymore. It's kind of interesting to see where it's going to go. And then, of course, as you get to the end, you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. You realize, oh, this is where we were going. This is nice. So anyway, I just kind of like to throw out the idea of this, happy accidents that sometimes when something goes wrong in our creative work, it may not be so wrong after all. Maybe actually that's kind of a little, nudge in another direction that can make things a lot more interesting. But anyway, hope you found this useful, and I will talk to you again next time. Bye.